Hey guys, we're going camera vlog today, so apologies for the low quality. I've got everything set up and I pulled out my camera, and where is Misty's camera battery? No one knows. So for those of you unfamiliar with the camera vlogs era, there's like a weird orangeness on the bottom half of the screen. I don't know why, but it's there. So we're just gonna have to deal with it and power through because I owe you guys a video. I promised in one of my last, which was a look at some of my recent reads, that I would do a separate dedicated video to some of my recent comic reads, and that is what we're going to do today, and I'm going to try to make it quick because I have 15 minutes until I have to leave my house, and a fair bundle of comics to talk about, so let's get right into them. The first one wasn't originally going to be part of this video, but I stalled so long in making it that I had another couple to add to the pile. So this one I read literally yesterday, and it is Spill Zone by Scott Westerfeld and Alex Puveland, I think is maybe how you say it. I don't know. This one's been getting a lot of buzz, and I was very excited because I like Scott Westerfeld, and it's his first comic, and it just sounded really cool, really interesting and quirky. And I did really like it, and I'm excited for more. However, I'm not the biggest fan of the art style or the coloring style. This is a good illustration of that. I think it's kind of messy and kind of chaotic. Now, it actually is perfect for the story. I wouldn't expect the style to be anything different. I mean, I think that they did a really good job of either tailoring the art and the colorist's style to the story or finding the right artist and colorist, because it's what the story needed. It's just not generally my cup of tea, so it took me a little bit longer to get into it than I was anticipating. It also ends with no real resolution, so I don't know how long there's going to be until the next one, but I imagine probably quite a while. So that was a little disappointing, and occasionally in the beginning there was almost a stiffness, I guess, in the storytelling and the actual words that had me feeling like maybe it was going to end up in the disappointing pile, but fortunately it didn't. I did really like it, and I'm intrigued. But I don't know if it's as buzzworthy as some people have been making it out to be, for me personally. Next up we have Newsprints by Rougeau, maybe? And this one kind of had the opposite for me. I thought the art and the coloring were gorgeous. Very muted palette, but totally up my alley. Very warm and just, I could eat it. The story, however, felt a little bit lacking. Now, I still liked it, but it felt underdeveloped and it felt under-communicated. So there were definitely times where I was like, I'm not getting enough of this to connect with it, or I feel like something's missing. You know, I would flip back like, did I accidentally skip a page? It just felt like the connections were gone. So when you move from one scene to the other, or one conclusion to the other, one character, whatever, it just felt like it was missing something, and it kept throwing me off. But I still really enjoyed it. I think there's going to be more, and I will definitely read it. But yeah, I guess just underdeveloped is the word. It felt a little underdeveloped for me. Liked but didn't love, which is the theme of a lot of the comics in this group, sadly. Although that is not true of Saga Volume 7, which I read on my phone, which I'm using to record this, so I can't show you what it looked like, and I can't show you any of the panels from it. Sorry, my Kindle's dead, or I'd show you on that. But I think most of you are well familiar with Saga and the art style and the story style, so maybe that's moot anyway. But it's just so good. It's so good. And I'm absolutely positive that my heart's going to be torn out at some point. Like, it's just, there's this constant sense of impending doom with that series. That's really, the tension is too much for me, man. So, obviously, that one was a thumbs up. I loved it. I'm gonna keep reading them even after it tears my heart out. It was just, it's Saga. I also read Bitch Planet by Kelly Sue DeConnick and Valentine DeLandro. Or is it Valentine DeLandro? I don't know. And this one is also a thumbs up. Now, I have seen people really on both sides of the fence with this one, and I do agree with both. It could be more substantive. It does rely a lot on the sort of flashy bits, and I've noticed that with Kelly Sue DeConnick, that there seems to be a lot of showy, this is important, or this is intriguing, or whatever, without always quite backing it up. And in some ways that is true of this. It hits you over the head with a lot of things. It's lacking a little bit of subtlety, but at the same time I feel like that's suited to this story. Now, I haven't always liked other things that I've read by DeConnick, but for this, I think it works because it is sort of satire, but not completely satire, you know? It's this slightly not that far-fetched dystopia of a feminist prison planet. And all of those over-the-top elements kind of work because it is satire and those work with satire. All that aside, like I said, I haven't normally liked Kelly Sue DeConnick very much. I've wanted to like her more than I've liked her, or her stories, but this one I liked, and maybe it was just the right thing at the right time. I think mostly, though, it was that I just kind of fell for these characters, and I'm intrigued to see where it's going, and find the approach to the world and the world itself fascinating. So for me it worked. I can understand the drawbacks and the things that people don't like about it, but I was able to set those aside and really want to keep going. Find out more about Bitch Planet. I'm pretty sure I would end up there. So, you know. I also read a few more on Hoopla. One was an adaptation of Octavia E. Butler's Kindred, which is one of my favorite novels. And I was really hesitant going in. Again, I can't show you the art, I'm sorry, because that's a lot of what I'm going to talk about. But I'll leave links to it below so you can check it out. But basically, I was hesitant going in because obviously a graphic novel adaptation of a book is bound to cut out and condense a lot of things, and you have to get the same images that are built and that are developed through very, very quickly. So that I was worried about because Kindred is something that relies on that slow build and the personal connection to the horrors that you feel as the reader. And so obviously I knew it wasn't going to quite nail it for me on that score. I mean, I think it did as good as a graphic novel could, and of course seeing some of the horrors adds a different layer that the book doesn't have. So, you know, it can kind of balance out a little bit there. But for the most part, what really was the drawback for me, because I don't think that I can't fault the storytellers for the condension of the book, because, I mean, they had to. You know, you can't fit a 400 pages of words into 100 pages of pictures. It's just not going to happen. So I don't fault them for that. But the art style, I just really didn't connect with. Again, it's very messy. I don't really love messy art. It can work, but in small doses. Otherwise it starts to feel chaotic to me, and I just don't like that. And this was intentionally very chaotic. Now that's, again, probably well suited to the story, just doesn't work for me. And also I don't really love when things are like weirdly proportioned and characters look like the next step up from stick figure, you know, like those old like wood carvings from the mid-ages where, you know, people just like, why is their body so weird and stocky? It was kind of like that. So it just didn't quite work for me. I don't want it to necessarily put anyone off from reading the novel. So if they read it and they're like, oh, that didn't do it for me, the novel is amazing, you should read it. So I think some people will get a lot out of it. Some people will gel with it. Some people that were never going to read the book might read the comic, so that's good. But, I mean, obviously, it's never going to stand up to the book, especially when the book is one of my favorites. But it was still, I don't regret reading it, and there were moments that, you know, brought the book back for me, and it just made my stomach churn. So it did work, just not for me. One that didn't work for me, and I have a feeling it just wouldn't work for anyone, was The Discipline. Can't remember who this is by, but this was just junk. It was so just bad. I hate to say that about anything because things will connect with different people, but this was shit. It was in the like featured section of Hoopla, and Hoopla doesn't tell you reviews. It just tells you like a bare minimum of what the comic is about. So I had no idea going in that like all of the reviews on Goodreads are like 1 and 2 star, and I understand why, because it was just schlocky and just, no, it just didn't work. It really didn't work. I don't even know how to go into this book. It was kind of stupid. It was trying really hard to be really intellectual, and it failed. But the last one that I read, and one that I loved, and I'm going to get volume 2 today, was the comic Wolf. Again, I don't remember who it's by because it's on my phone, and I can't look it up right now, but whoever it was, I thank them because I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the characters. I mostly really liked the art style, although part of me wishes that the art style was in the style of the variant cover art, because the cover art is so beautiful and interesting, and I loved it. But, you know, it was good on its own. It didn't have to be the variant art, but I really like the variant art. Anyway, it is this sort of supernatural LA story, and I tore through it. I cannot wait to read the rest of it. I don't know how many volumes there are, but I hope there are a lot, and I hope there are a lot of them out so that I'm not waiting a long time, but I feel like I'm gonna be. And yeah, I'm just in. I'm ready. Like, that's what I'm reading tonight, even though I've got other things to read. It was just, I don't know, right book at the right time. It gelled with me. Loved it. So that is what I read recently. Lots and lots of them. I feel like there are probably more, but those are the only ones that I wrote down. So for now, that's definitely a good enough stack of comic novels? Works. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've read or want to read any of these, or if you have suggestions or similar recommendations or things to avoid if you also didn't like The Discipline and you've read something else that was shitty. Everything I mentioned will be linked in the description below, so you can find all of them there. But before I let you go, and hopefully everyone hasn't clicked out of here yet, I am in the mood to do a book chat, but I don't know what I want to chat about. So I'm going to leave the playlist of book chats linked in this region so that you can kind of scroll through, see what all we've done. If you've missed any of the book chats, you can catch up. But basically, I want you guys to give me recommendations of what our next book chat should be. So it can be anything bookish. We've talked about covers and spines and book spine poetry and buzzwords and deal breakers and unread authors that we own a lot of but still somehow haven't read. Maybe that's just me. But basically anything bookish is fair game. Let me know your suggestions in the comments, and I'm gonna pick one or a few that just intrigue me. So that will be coming up soon, hopefully. But until then, or until whatever the next video is, probably a haul, that is all for now. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, happy reading. And yes, there is a kitten video coming. Was I blurry that whole time?